What's going on? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Bits for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. And we have to start the show off with what Samsung put out to kick off 2022 with their new Galaxy S22 lineup. For me, it's all eyes on the S22 Ultra, and you can see I actually have it here right in my hand. Look how nice that is. I didn't get it, but that's okay. I still did the pre-order because the S21 Ultra was easily one of the best phones last year, if not the best from a hardware standpoint. But when a new phone comes out with a new processor, the iPhone loyalists like you get a little insecure, you're all on a little bit of an edge. Well, Samsung's S22 lineup brings the fastest Android smartphones out there with Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor and a more efficient 4nm process, and it's fast. But it's not as fast as the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which uses Apple's A15 Bionic 5nm chip. See, now I can hear some of you actually take that that deep exhale, that collective breath, because in a Geekbench 5 benchmark test run by PC Mag, the Galaxy S22 Ultra with the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 had a multi-core score of 3,433. Now the iPhone 13 Pro Max with the A15 Bionic had a multi-core score of 4,647. Those numbers reveal that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is roughly 35% faster than the S22 Ultra for CPU performance. And if you're wondering, hey, what about the Exynos 2200 if you're buying it overseas? Well, it scores around the mid 3000s as well. But then, does it really matter? Like for me as a creator, yeah, it matters when it's handling large video files or I'm editing content on the go, but that's still a pretty small group of people overall. The reality is that these phones are just so powerful that most users probably will never even feel the real speed difference. So it matters, but it also doesn't really matter at this point because of how capable these phones are in general. Now, I wanted to point it out because it shows just how far ahead of the game Apple still is when it comes to processors, and really just to make some of you Apple lovers feel good about yourselves, because I know there's that guy, Alex in San Jose, saying, my iPhone is still faster than Samsung's, and he is so excited about this, and it really does make him feel good because that's all he's got going for him in life. You're awesome, Alex. Now, the big Apple news, Apple officially announced that they will be making updates to AirTags to specifically address unwanted tracking. So this may not be the sexiest story, but it's an important one. People do bad things, and there have been more and more reports of people using AirTags to track them or even follow people back to their homes. So Apple will be taking this on in several ways. Now, the first is with a new privacy warning. So during setup of an AirTag for the first time, every user will get a warning that states AirTags are meant to track your own belongings. It's linked specifically to your iCloud account, and law enforcement can request any identifying information about the owner of an AirTag. The second is improved alerts. Now, in the past, you might get an alert that an unknown accessory is detected near you, but it could be anything from AirPods 3 to AirPods Pro, AirPods Max, or a third-party Find My accessory. It was just really vague. So moving forward, the alert will identify the exact accessory traveling with you, so it will say something like AirPods Pro detected. And if an unknown AirTag is tracking you, it will explicitly say AirTag found moving with you. Now, these changes haven't been implemented yet, and they will be coming in a future software update, according to Apple. Another feature, you have always been able to use precision finding to locate your own lost item with an AirTag on it, right down to like the centimeter. Well, in the future, you'll be able to use precision finding to locate an unwanted AirTag that is near you to make it significantly easier to find where one might be hidden on your car or around you. There's also going to be some sound changes to AirTags. So currently, an AirTag plays a sound when it has been separated within 8 to 24 hours. In an update, when an AirTag emits a sound, it will show an alert on nearby phones. Then other users, they can use that to play a sound again or find it with precision finding. And this is going to help find AirTags if they're hard to hear, or if maybe the speakers have been tampered with so that it doesn't make a sound anymore. And Apple will also be adjusting the tone sequence of the AirTag sound to use more of its loudest tones to make it easy to find as well. And all of these changes are good ones. I think it's the right move because Apple's working with law enforcement as they are still learning how people are using these for the wrong reasons and what measures they can take to combat that. And we don't know exactly when these changes will be happening, but my hope is that it happens by their spring event, but it could be later. And maybe these updates come along with a much needed family sharing feature for multiple people to have access to tracking individual AirTags as a family as well. Now, Apple's also doing a lot more and honestly being responsive compared to other companies like Tile in this space. The other tricky part of this is on the Android side. Now, Apple does have a tracker detect application to locate AirTags with an Android device, but it's not nearly as robust. Like, the biggest issue is that it doesn't scan for devices in the background. You have to manually prompt a scan, and come on, who's gonna constantly do that? And I get how Apple put the app out there, but it's basically useless to Android users right now. So we're gonna see how many of these changes it can even implement on the Android side and when these updates will take effect. Now, Apple's also announcing that a new tap to pay feature will allow the iPhone XS and later to accept contactless payments from other iPhones and credit cards without any additional hardware. So no Square readers to attach onto your phone or point of sale hardware. This is as direct as it can get. Now, Apple says the new feature will launch later this year within supported iOS apps, and Stripe, they're already doing an open beta that starts this spring. And I just love this for even more seamless transactions for food trucks, conventions, street vendors everywhere. And all indications that we will get tap to pay with iOS 15.4 when it rolls out. And the recently released beta already includes Face ID with wearing a mask, digital ID and driver's license supports, and new emojis. Come on, I had to do that. All right, Apple is just killing the audio game right now. A recent Statista survey of over 4,000 people ages 18 to 64 that were surveyed throughout 2021 revealed that AirPods make up 34.4% of the headphone share in the country. And then at number 2, it's Beats with a 15.3% market share. So combine those two, and Apple makes up 49.7% of the headphone market in the US, and it is absolutely just dominating the space. It wasn't that long ago when people mocked Apple's AirPods and their white stems all dangling out like a scene from There's Something About Mary, and I was one of them. Well, who's laughing now? Apple is. That's who, because I've purchased every generation. Now, estimates say AirPods have become a $20 billion annual business, and Apple's about to reach selling 100 million units of its wireless headphones by the end of the year. Now, we know there isn't too much buzz around AirPods Max 2 because they still aren't selling well at $549 a pop, even though they are really good, but not $549 good for most consumers, not even at $449 with price cuts from places like Amazon. Well, maybe that's going to change because Apple was just granted a patent that shows a method for processing gestures on a touch-sensitive surface. And this is the first time Apple's been granted any touch control patents for the AirPods Max. Now, we know that there's this whole big surface on the AirPods Max. I mean, I love the clean design, and I saw a lot of hot takes on social media saying, no, they do not want this. But do you really think Apple's gonna put touch controls on AirPods Max that are as crappy as what we've seen so far? We know these controls and headphones have been out for years, but they just aren't good enough or reliable enough, not at all. And I just end up going to my phone because they aren't remotely accurate. I can just kind of directly choose what I want. But if we can get the same responsiveness that we can from, let's say, multi-touch on an iPhone screen, but for touch controls on an AirPods Max, then come on now, count me in. The AirPods Max design team even publicly said that they tried touch controls, but they just weren't good enough at the time, so they went with a digital crown and a physical control. Maybe those touch controls happen with the next ones. And they don't have to rush the next gen AirPods Max. I mean, we might even see a mid-range one before we even get to AirPods Max 2, but I am all for these Apple-esque touch controls on a future AirPods Max. And hey, let's think about pricing them at $399 or $449 tops instead of $549. Then you might actually sell a bunch. All right, you want some Apple ARVR headset news? Because I got some. The last we heard was that Apple's new headset may get pushed out to 2023 instead of the late 2022 target date that we've been hearing for a while. Hey, take your time, Apple. There's no rush here. Get the hardware down and some real software experiences that make it stand out, because if it's really going to be around that rumored $2,000 price point to start, sure, I'll review it, but I'm sticking with my Quest 2 or the PSVR 2. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But new references to realityOS have been found in the App Store upload logs and Apple open source code. That's the new ARVR operating system that is rumored to run Apple's mixed reality headset. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman was first to reference ROS, which stands for realityOS, back in 2017, and internally, it's called Oak. Now, we still don't know when it's coming out, but reports claim the new headset will feature two M1-style Apple chips inside and will focus on gaming, streaming video content and not the metaverse. Because in Apple's recent earnings report, when asked about it, Tim Cook did not even use the M word and said, "We're a company in the business of innovation, and we have over 14,000 AR apps in the Apple Store, and that Apple sees a lot of potential and is investing accordingly." So note to self, don't use the M word around Apple. It just doesn't exist in their world, so just don't say it. All right, that's gonna do it for this video. If you like what you see, give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my latest videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my weekly Apple Bits XL audio podcast to get the latest deep dive with all these stories and new ones every week with special guests. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care and be safe. Peace and love.